Today I'm going to be refurbishing and fitting a canopy to our 2016 Nissan Navara. Currently we have a roller shutter installed that came on the truck. When we go anywhere with Boss, we put luggage in the back, and then where the back seats fold up, Boss has a bed. However, if you followed the channel for a while, you'll know that we've got a baby on the way. So this means that we need the back seats folded down for the baby seat. That means we needed to get a canopy so he can go in the truck bed. This one came up on Facebook Marketplace for only £100, pretty close to us, but it had no glass in the lid and it had been replaced by a sheet of steel. Ideally, I wanted one with a window so I can still see out the back. So I removed the steel and I've replaced this with some plexiglass. I had a sheet of acrylic, so I decided I'd try to make a new window from this. I marked out the size using the sheet of steel as a template, and then I cut it out using the angle grinder. I then sanded down the edges smooth using a belt sander. The old canopy didn't have a key, so I replaced the handle and the locking mechanism with a replacement and just needed to drill a few holes for this. Because this protrudes through the back of the plexiglass, it needs to actually meet up to this plate, and if it meets up to this plate as it is, there's going to be a gap, which means there's going to be some tension put onto the plexiglass. So what I'm going to do is put this rubber in, which one will act like a seal to stop any water going through, but it'll also sit in there and it'll clamp to the metal part, and therefore it'll stop any tension on the plexiglass. I then started to disassemble the canopy, ready to prep for paint. I removed the strut and the boot lid, which got a good clean and then was sanded down, ready for painting. There was a hole in the side of the canopy that had been patched up with a piece of plastic, so I decided to repair this properly. I removed the plastic piece and then I used some car body filler to stick this to the inside of the canopy fiberglass. I could then fill the hole with some more body filler. I could then remove the canopy from the truck, ready to prep for paint. There's another hole in the top of this which is pretty much hidden from view. This one was sealed with some silicone, so I just removed the silicone for painting, and then I'm going to reseal the hole later. I gave the canopy a quick jet wash to remove all of the green that was growing on it, and then I started the sanding. This back window was loose, so this is going to need to be stuck back in later with some flexible adhesive. I hand sanded all the tricky parts and then I used an air sander to sand the rest of the canopy, including the filler repair that I'd done earlier. I then went round cleaning and degreasing everything ready for paint. I masked up the window and some of the brackets on the back and then was ready to spray. I'm spraying this canopy with a satin black military paint. It's a paint that is really tough and it doesn't need any primer or a top coat, and it also dries pretty quickly, so it's ideal if you can only spray outside. I gave the canopy 3 coats of paint and then I left it to be dry enough to re-stick the back window, and I sealed the top hole with some black sealant. I could then get back to working on the replacement window. The window needed some parts blacking out to stop you being able to see into the fiberglass boot lid. I decided rather than using standard paint for this, I would use the primer that's supplied with the window bonding kits, as I thought this was less likely to come off the window than if I used the military paint. I brushed this on by hand and then used a swab applicator to fill the rest in. This would be the inside of the window, so the finish of this doesn't have to be perfect. I brought the boot lid part inside and then I applied some of the primer to this, ready for adhesive. I ran a bead of Master Bond adhesive, which I also used when fitting the camper van windows on the van conversion, and then this was ready to fit. I decided the best way to hold the screen in place whilst it was adhering was to use some Tech screws along with the adhesive, and then I was going to cover them with some black covers. However, this turned out to be a bit of a disaster. I test fitted the screen with just the screws about 3 times before the final fitting, without any problems, but when it came to the final fitting, unfortunately, the very last screw cracked the plastic. You can't really tell in the time-lapse footage, but the screen was ruined. So I left this project for about a week, still annoyed that it had failed on the very last screw, and then I bought some 3mm polycarbonate sheet which should be able to bend into place and hold with just the adhesive. I used a broken screen to remake a new one in the exact same way as before. I could then run a bead of adhesive around the edge and use some weights to hold everything in place whilst it cured. I left the adhesive to cure for 24 hours and then I gave the boot lid a quick touch-up of paint before installing the replacement handle. I could then go about refitting this onto the truck. The old struts were no good anymore as the steel sheet was heavier than the old glass, so I replaced these with some new ones and then we were good to go. The total cost of this canopy turned out to be around £250. A lot cheaper than buying a good condition one, and it also looks brand new now. And because I went for the satin black, it's much more unique than most canopies and it fits well with the style of the truck. I actually sold the roller shutter for £320, so this more than covered all the costs of buying this canopy and fixing it up. A bit of a different video this week, so hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.